So I was asked about foundationless frames. Foundationless frames, nothing in them, and how to super when the lack of drawn comb is now happening. Because I had one of my viewers ask me about foundationless frames and what to do when I super and I'm running out of drawn comb. And this is one of the headaches of foundationless. It's not fun. When I run out of drawn comb, I'm left with just the empties. But if you put a box full of empties and you just sit it on top, and there they are like this, they're not going to draw, well, some queens will draw straight. This rounded over bit helps them draw straight. But if it's an empty next to an empty next to an empty, they're not going to do it. 9 times out of 10, what they'll do is they'll build one good, the second one good, and then they get a wild hair and say, let's make it funky, and they start building this way. And that's not what we want. And this is the hive. So I've taken a few frames out, and I will decorate, if you will. This was drawn as a drone, so I don't want that in the middle. Put that to the wall. And these two are basically full of capped honey, so I want that over. This one here, this third, this is still a lot of honey in it. Ugh. She's got nectar. And nectar. So those three I'm going to keep together. I don't want to put an empty in between them, because what will happen is the girls will then cap and then redraw another cell out. Instead of building this one, they'll build out and fatten this frame up. They like to fatten frames up. They'll fatten this frame to build through this one. This won't really have a frame. It'll just be this one real fat. So I try not to put these into honey. This, however, is, get my camera to not fall, is a brood chamber. And so she will have brood down there. I'm on my way. That's all capped right there. Blow on them. See? It's all capped, but you don't want them backfilling and all that other nonsense. So this one moves over. And because there's brood on that frame, I can put an empty. And because you put an empty frame next to brood, ow! Really? Then they should draw worker comb. Oh, it just hit me twice, man. What's going on? And I can put empty on the other side. If you're in a flow and you're doing this, sometimes what they'll do is they'll draw a drone comb because it's faster and easier, and they need to put up their nectar, and they'll do that before drawing a worker comb for the workers. Come on. Come on. Oh, that's heavy too. They should draw a worker comb, and that's how you do the whole box. If you leave two frames together, they can draw funny. Hopefully they won't. It all depends on the queen. It all depends on probably their flow. This is one of the pains in ours of Foundationless. It's super time consuming and it's very labor intensive. If you're trying to keep that commercial foundation out of your hive, this is the way to go. But if you make enough wax, get a foundation press, and then do some foundation, because this is really time consuming. I figure I miss part of my flow this way, but it's the way I do it for now. We started to make a press. We'll see what happens for next year. But Foundationless, adding a super with no drawn comb, time and effort goes into it. So the box ends up looking like this. The white frames are empties, and the ones that are in between have brood in them. Will they draw worker comb with the brood next to them? In general, I say yes. All depends on what's happening though. If they need that drone comb to put up nectar, they'll do that. If they're a queenless hive, they'll probably draw only drone comb, if they draw it at all.
Vanilla fudge layered cake is what it looks like, doesn't it?
Yeah. So
Nice.
the super that's left, that's going to go on top, has a brood, a little bit of brood in there, an empty, and a brood frame. And then I have the empties. So, like I said in the beginning, the empties, she probably will draw this straight. But she may start to go across these. So I have to come back and probably within a week and either move them in or take from the bottom and move them up. Like I said, this is a labor intensive way of doing bees. So if you're going to do foundationless, it's labor intensive. Labor of love perhaps, but it does take a lot more work. And you do have some frustration levels because of the cross building or the drone comb. If it's a drone comb, I tend to just move it up so they always fill it with honey. And then I try to save those for the first sets of nectar drawing or nectar pull in the spring. And if it gets ruined, you know, it's no skin off my nose. I don't want to lose worker drawn comb. So until next time, I hope this answered your question. Leave your comment down below if I did or I didn't. Till next time, peace, bruh.